Hey there, Alex Kidman here with my quick review of this. Not so much the monitor that you can see here, but this light bar, the Qantas Monitor Light Bar HY214. And before we start, a couple of quick notes. One, Qantas sent me this particular light bar for review, and as always, that gets them a review. Nothing more, nothing less. And I should also point out that it's kind of difficult for me to talk about a company called Qantas without feeling like I'm doing a terrible New Zealand accent while talking about Australia's biggest airline carrier. But maybe that's just me. The HY214 is a pretty simply designed monitor light bar, though it's far from Qantas's only play. Now, the odds are that you've never heard of them. I certainly hadn't till they approached me and said, hey, do you want to review a light bar? But that's because essentially they're another Amazon brand coming out of a Chinese factory, in essence. And there are a lot of Qantas light bars on sale through that particular retailer. For what it's worth, the model I've tested me tells me on the box that it's both the Qantas Monitor Light Bar HY214 on the side, but possibly also the HY212 on the back of the box. Whereas it also gives me a health warning that's more than a little alarming. I mean, probably nothing to worry about, right? Of course, the HY214's primary lighting feature is this strip of adjustable LED lights in a bar formation that hangs on the front of your monitor. You can physically adjust it, as I'm doing here, to adjust the angle. I certainly wouldn't want it going straight towards my eyes most of the time. It also features rear illumination as well, if that's more your style, if that's what you want. They do have models that don't feature rear illumination if you don't happen to need it. Now, attachment is via a hanging weight, this hanging weight, in fact, and it just kind of levers off the back of your monitor. I've attached it to a couple of ultra-wide and wide monitors without problems. Curved monitors, this one wouldn't suit, but again, they have curved monitor solutions if that's what you're after. There's also a very, very light adhesive. You might just be able to make that out on the shot, maybe, maybe not. It is really, really super light. It's not really going to do that much beyond remind you, hey, this bit is where it's meant to stick to the back of the monitor. It's not like it's super glue or anything like that. The HY214 also comes with this round remote control. It's used to switch on the primary and secondary lights, as I'm doing here, as well as adjusting brightness and color temperature along this dotted dial line. It's powered by 3 AAA batteries. They just go in the back there. They are actually supplied in the box. Nice little touch. Although I am left wondering, and this is one of my biggest complaints about this particular light bar, what you're meant to do with it if you lose the remote or the remote dies, because there are no physical controls on the light bar itself. Not even an on-off switch. It's all from the remote. So don't damage the remote, because otherwise the light bar is just junk. The HY214 is powered by a USB-C to USB-A cable that hooks in around the back. The primary idea here is that you might connect it to your monitor's USB ports if it has them, but it's equally feasible to run it from a computer port or a standard USB-A style charger, or even a battery pack if you're so inclined. And yes, I did test that to see if it was feasible. So why would you want a monitor light bar in the first place when most monitors are capable of getting plenty bright on their own? Look, the most commonly cited reason, beyond wanting a kind of noir detective feel to your room, is to potentially reduce eye strain by more fully and gently brightening the areas around a screen so that you're less hit by the brightness of your display as you work at it. Now, the HY214 does provide that kind of illumination with that small degree of rotation to allow you to more optimally position it so that they don't shine directly into your own eyes. The dial remote here does look as though it provides an awful lot of tweaking of light and color, although it's a little bit tricky to work with because its default is actually to jump down 4 steps at a time. Simple taps just get you 4 changes of brightness intensity. If you hold, it will go down more subtly, although the differences in brightness, they're not spectacular between dot to dot. It is a little bit more apparent. If I flick it over to the color mode, it's a little bit more apparent in the color modes because it goes from a warm hue to a cold one in gradated steps. But I really suspect here that most people are probably going to find a setting they like, they'll stick it at that, and that will be that. The remote is really just going to be the on-off switch. It's also worth noting that you have control only over the front lights. The rear lights operate on an on-off basis only. But does it actually make a difference, I hear you ask? I have microphones everywhere. And look, here I've got an obvious testing limitation because all I've really done to test it is test with my own eyes in my own office with my own screens. Nowhere else, and it's not like I've got to control me to do the same work at the same time in order to compare results. Although, wow, that'd be really handy. I could get so much done, but I digress. In terms of my own optical fatigue, the best response to the question about whether or not it makes a difference is maybe. Look, there's little doubt in my head that staring at just a screen in a darkened area isn't great for my eyes, and while I could wish for more granularity in the HY214's controls, once I got them to a level I liked, I did feel as though I had less eye strain at the end of a given working day. However, of course, there could well be a placebo effect in play here. Am I thinking my eyes are better off because I've got something in play that says it'll help with this? It's basically impossible to say, at least until the cloning experiments of me are done, really. The Monitor Lightbar HY214 does absolutely do a decent enough job of illumination. And it has had one other side effect, because I'm honestly keeping my office desk a little bit clearer as a result, because it turns out having a lot of illumination makes me much more aware of how much dust and detritus and random USB cables collect on my desk over time. I'm not sure that's a feature that's worth buying a light bar for, but it's definitely a side effect. So should you buy the Qantas Monitor Lightbar HY214? Well, look, does it provide illumination to your monitor and desk? Sure. At that level, this is a product that does what it says it will do, albeit in a somewhat simple style. If you're thinking that this kind of product might be useful, though, the first thing I'd suggest you do isn't go out and buy one. Instead, I'd first suggest you look at what tweaks your monitor has within it to adjust things like brightness and color temperatures, because ultimately, what you're doing here is trying to reduce the strain and stress of glare on your eyes, and that can be best managed in the first instance with just a few adjustments to your monitor's settings if it will allow you. Obviously, everyone's lighting conditions vary a lot. And that being said, look, the Qantas Monitor Lightbar HY214 is reasonably priced within its space. I do wish it had physical controls on the light bar itself, however, because while I'm not likely to use them over the remote control in most cases, if the remote dies, the whole thing is rendered useless, which is a big design flaw in my eyes.